What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Russler. Joining me this week is JC Sabala. He is a St. Louis comedian. You can check out his new special on YouTube called Vanilla Pino. Just go to YouTube and search up JC Sabala. It pops up. He's a hilarious guy. I've known him for like 6.5 years. He was actually one of the very first comics I ever met. He was at my very first ever open mic. So, guys, give him a follow, give him a shout out, go watch his special, give it a thumbs up, and enjoy the episode. Here, plug your social media real quick and any upcoming shows you got.
When is this, do you think it's going to air?
Probably next week.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
Cool. So I will do it for the Link Auditorium one. Because Molly's show will probably be too late. What the hell does Jack call that one that he's...
Is that the Jack Wright and Friends showcase or something? Or is it the...
No.
There's that, and then they also do...
Holly Jolly Comedy Showcase.
Okay.
All right.
So you got the Holly Jolly Comedy Showcase. What date is that?
That's going to be on December 21st, and then... After that, I'm in Tulsa. I don't know if you got a lot of listeners in Tulsa.
You never know, man.
You never know.
You never know.
Check out those metrics.
Those clips, man. Well, that's weird because it's like I have clips that go, I'm not saying not viral, but they, I've got a couple that have a couple thousand views, and I've had people say like, yeah, I had someone follow me randomly from your podcast, and they were like, hey, when are you coming to Duluth? And I was like,
Minnesota?
Yeah, and they were like, as soon as somebody from Duluth wants me to come, I guess. I was like, I don't. So you never know. But, also your special.
Yeah.
You want to plug that? Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, basically all the streaming. It's on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Vanilla Pino. Just the word vanilla with P-I-N-O at the end of it. But yeah, it's up on YouTube right now. I did it, had it distributed through 4x3 Comedy. So
that's right, and that's what you said. Was it Nathan Colombo? Was that him?
Nathan Colombo was his crew. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who recorded it for me, and they kicked ass on it. Like that's one of the things I get a lot of compliments. The sound and the video quality.
It looks great.
Really, really legit. And for them, they had dabbled in this kind of stuff before, but this is the first time they put the name of their company is Brand Advocacy Group,
mm-hmm.
BAG, and they wanted to do something that was more proof of concept that they could go to. I know that they're working. The last I heard, they were going to be working with Hannibal Buress.
Mm. So
for them, it kind of made it like it was kind of like a little sizzle reel for them.
That's pretty awesome. I've it's weird is that you're like the third person to bring up Hannibal Buress to me recently because he's doing a lot of stuff in Southern Illinois, like the Carbondale, Paducah area and stuff, and Bryce Evans. Yeah, he was telling me the other day. He was like, yeah, apparently he's thinking about taking over this one space, that we've done shows at before. I was like, that's awesome.
It'd be a new club.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. A new place between here and Memphis, or here in Nashville. That would be. Yeah, I would love that. But that's cool. That's cool that they did that. It looks good. Where'd you film it? It was in Kansas City, right?
Yep. It was called Record Bar. It's a venue that's been around for. This this was their newer space. They had an older space in Kansas City. But I mean, they've been at this space for a while. But for St. Louisans, it'd be like doing a special at Old Rock House.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because we looked at a little like small theaters and like little like small auditorium stuff, like like 200 seaters, and this was like perfect. Like I didn't want to do. Everybody's doing their specials now, like because it feels like everybody's doing a special.
Yeah,
now, you know what I mean? Because it's just become so accessible for people, and I feel like everybody's doing them at comedy clubs, and they all look the same. Like, what? How does that look any different from just another comedy club clip?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
And I think, I mean, certainly I could have done something like that, but like, I wanted it to look different. You know what I mean? And I was really happy with that venue. That venue was awesome. It was my first time there. I'm actually going to be back there on December 23rd because they're normally they're an event space, but they're mostly a concert venue.
That's why I asked about it, because when I watched the special, that was one thing I noticed, is that it looked like it could have been a theater, like like the Fox or something like that. Like it had that, but then it felt real intimate too. So that's what I was curious about.
That was like perfect, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what you want. You want that blend. You know? That's perfect. So yeah. Well, one thing I've started doing is before as we get started, is I've been reading off comments from previous episodes. So I've got a comments I thought I'd read off here with you. This one's from TikTok. Oh, this was Chris Sear and I were talking about what's the best strategy game between chess, tic-tac-toe, and checkers.
Yeah.
And Eddie Gordo says, he poses the question and the guy exhales like it's a difficult question. Tic-tac-toe is for toddlers. Checkers is for dummies. Checkers is chess for dummies. Chess is elite. This is the most flat-brained conversation ever. All right, Eddie. Well... I bet, first of all, I will beat you in tic-tac-toe any day of the week, all right? You and me, Eddie, we'll find an online tic-tac-toe, and I will wipe the floor with you.
I love that insult, the flat brain.
Yeah, the flat brain conversation.
Not smooth brain.
Yeah, just flat brain. like flat earther.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's like...
not smooth. Yeah, not smooth brain. Yeah, I think your comment was flat brain, sir. But first of all, you're just talking about an order of difficulty. You're thinking that difficulty means that it's the best strategy game. Yes, everyone knows chess is most difficult, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best strategy game. I would argue that the best game would be a game that could be played by anybody. So I would say tic-tac-toe is the best strategy game.
Good argument.
You know what I mean? Like, doesn't that, something that can be enjoyed by everyone, doesn't that necessarily make it better than something that can only be enjoyed by like the elite few, like not that there's only a few people who play chess, but that's definitely, that's just your definition of what you think the best is you think it's the most difficult. So you think that it means it's the best. I disagree 100%. I don't know. Do you have thoughts, questions, comments to weigh in on this?
I mean, chess is certainly the most difficult. I enjoy chess the most.
Oh yeah.
I think it depends on what you're looking for out of the game, because like if you're playing against somebody good at it, it's the most challenging. Granted, you could be playing against somebody that's good at checkers, but like then again, I don't give a fuck about checkers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, oh, you beat me in checkers. Okay, cool, whatever. Yeah.
So I think it comes down to what you like the best as well.
Well, that's the whole point.
Chess is the game of kings and stuff. You know what I mean?
That's what I said. That's what I said with Chris, is that it was supposed to represent how you could lead troops in a battle, or how you could command your forces.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to sacrifice people and things like that. And we were talking about, hypothetically, do we think anyone's ever, instead of fighting a war, been like, let's just play chess. If I beat you, I get this castle or whatever. If you beat me, we leave.
Yeah, I think hypothetically that's...
Well, so that's what we were talking about. We both kind of agreed, and the comments were blowing up. People were like, "You're an idiot. No one's ever played chess instead." And I'm like, "All right, sir." My favorite comment.
You got to look into the history of chess about how many thousands of years it went, and it was a game in multiple civilizations. It was like in India. It was in the Middle East. It was in Europe. It was in Africa. Like it's all like in a lot of the words we have for the pieces. They're like they stem from words in another language. Right? I don't remember exactly what rook was.
Well, there's so many of that. I love those. That's been my new rabbit hole on Instagram. Is like the origins of a word. I was trying to think, what's the official word for it?
Etymology.
Etymology. I wanted to say entomology, and then I was like, no, that's the snack
for you. When we're off.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I've got a great one for you.
I love that. I love that when they're like, oh, and it, over the years, it was this and this and this, and you see it like, and then you're like, oh, that's where we get the word shit. Okay. And it makes me, I don't know. I find like tidbits like that so fascinating. And then I'm like, why didn't I do better in school? And then I don't know. It's like, but I can take like, I don't know. Maybe I am flat brained. Who knows?
Well, and then, that's a whole other conversation of academia. Like sometimes the reason why people don't do well in school is because they're not learning something they're interested in.
That's very true.
And and there's no way to make every form of education individualized.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's not feasible. It's not. There's no rational way to go about that.
It really is. I feel like teaching, it must be like the most impossible job because they have things that they have to cover, that are like, it's not an option. Every kid must learn about X, and I'm sure even the way it's taught is somewhat laid out,
Yeah.
And I feel like teachers have to like be super creative to be like, listen, I have to tell you that George Washington crossed the Delaware, but this guy had slave teeth. He was redheaded. Like, can you imagine? Like, there's so many interesting details that you find out later that you're like, what? Why didn't they teach us that? And then
because then you got to also deal with parents.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, you can't make fun of George Washington.
And it's not even making fun of him.
It's
just giving all the information. And I don't know, a lot of our society has it's almost like they've condemned intelligence.
It is weird, isn't it?
It's it's weird that in America, in going into 2025, that everybody it's like the nation wants to be dumber, less informed.
They do. It's. I feel like people think it's funny to be the dumb person. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want to be smart because or I don't want to try too hard because then people find out I'm not actually all that smart. I'd rather just pretend to be even dumber.
Yeah.
And then, I can just squeak by or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a way to hide for sure.
Well, yeah. And then more people are interested in having one of the big drawbacks of social media is now everybody's got a voice and everybody wants to fight.
That is true.
Everybody cares more about them thinking they're right than being right.
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody wants to argue, and everybody wants to be like, I'm smarter than everybody. Like, there is no evidence to support that.
Well, there's
no evidence to support that you're smarter than anyone.
Exactly. It's people just trying to dunk on other people, and you take like chunks, like even on this podcast, I can't put out a 5-minute clip that explains in detail what we were talking about. I'll put out a 60-second clip.
Yep.
And taken out of context, people are like, these people are flat-brained, and it's like that's okay, and you just want to get angry and dunk on people because I don't think you're happy, Eddie Gordo. All right, but I don't know, chill,
Fat Eddie,
Fat Eddie, yeah, Eddie Gordito, Eduardo Gordito.
I actually did chess tournaments when I was in high school.
Did you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, because I played sports all the time, but one year I was injured during wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get shoulder surgery, and I was out for the rest of the season. And I guess it would be called a chess coach.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly, what the chess club or the chess team, whoever the leader was of it.
It's funny if it was sensei.
Right, the chess sensei. But he had a bunch of chess sets that if you went in between class periods, if you gave him your student ID,
Mm-hmm.
he would let you borrow one for the hour. So before study hall, I had a lot of guys that were in the chess club. I would go get one, and I would play all of them. And I was a decent player, right? But I wasn't, great at it. It wasn't, something I was aspiring to do. But a lot of the guys, I was able to beat a lot of the guys on the team. Not, all the time. It was just competitive, right? And one day he caught me in the hall, and he's like, hey, I noticed that, your arm's in a sling, so you're obviously not wrestling anymore. We've got our invitational coming up. I know that you play. You want to be one of the guys representing our school. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I got nothing else to do. Right? So I go there, and it was bigger than I could have imagined. This invitational. We're 300 kids, right? And they had their own little cliques.
Oh yeah.
It was
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I'd never, been around it before. And some of them are talking about, different strategy. There were people that were sitting there, bragging, oh, on this one match, I pulled this or whatever. And that's not the kind of player I was, where I studied strategy and know these different, the Russian defense or whatever it's called.
The Sicilian defense. Yeah. Thanks, Queen's Gambit. That was that's the only reason I know that.
So, it was double elimination, and one of the things that you had to do was you had to document everything. So they have to write down. That's why they got that notepad. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know the annotation that goes with that. I don't know anything about that.
Because on they're grid squares and stuff that line up, right? And it's rook to knight 6 easy. Or whatever.
It's a pretty easy shorthand. But if you've never done it before, you don't know how to notate all that at all. Mm-hmm. And plus they got the little, clocks that you hit and all that. And there was other little rules that I didn't know that I guess is just for tournament chess.
Does that make it speed chess? When you have to hit is that what qualifies it?
No. Okay, so you need that for speed chess.
Right.
But speed chess is when they will bring it down to a minute.
Oh, okay.
And then you both have to go back and forth. Yeah.
Okay.
But tournament chess is timed, and you do have a time limit. You're only allotted something 30 minutes or maybe an hour. I don't know what the rules are, but I know that there is an allotted time.
Yeah, you can only... Okay.
And if you run out of time, you forfeit your match. Right? But the first guy I went against, I leaned across. I'm like, yo, how do I write this down? And he looked at me like what the fuck did... He just... he couldn't talk, very well either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like... shit, this guy...
Okay.
This guy was, just giving him something to do this week. And then this dude wiped the fucking board with me. Right? And I was pissed. and he took third. Turned out the reason why he couldn't enunciate his words very well is because he was deaf.
Oh no! So he thought you were talking shit. He thought you leaned across like that. He was like, "Okay," I could just see.
And then the second match, I ended up winning a match after that, and then I lost my third one to this little bitty dude, who kind of looked like the lead singer of Jamiroquai. It was a weird little dude, man. Right? And so he ended up he was clear, like he got to a point where he clearly had a mate on me, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of just taking the mate, right, he decided to what would be the equivalent of running up the score, right? He decided to toy with me and start taking away other. It's like, dude, just end the game, man.
Yeah. Please.
And then he just kept taking other pieces. It's not like I could do anything about it because he had me trapped. Mm-hmm. And because I came from this wrestling background, so I was competitive, but it was competitive in a totally different way, and I was like, God, I want to kick the shit out of this kid. Like with one arm.
Yeah.
Right?
Just smash the board and be like, here. Nobody wins now. There was one more. Okay, yeah. I got into best Gatorade flavors. We were going through the list.
Great.
And
Fierce grape.
Fierce grape? Really? I always go with blue. But one of the... So here's the thing. I keep seeing comments like this. Like, at the Big Ladle said, my first reaction to the actual name was, what are you, a narc? Like, no one says the names of Gatorade flavors. Which I had so many people like, no, just call it the color. And I don't know why, but tons of people are like, they don't understand why people say the actual flavors.
Until you send your kid into a gas station to go get you a Gatorade.
That's the yeah.
Because there's like multiple blues.
Oh yeah.
There's blue cherry. There's like a blue raspberry. There's Frost.
Glacier Freeze. Frost. There's like a dark blue one. There's I don't know. Yeah. So I understand saying the names, but just to see people react and be like, who says the names? But then
this isn't Powerade. This is Gatorade.
Yeah, there's
millions
of options. Yeah. For Powerade, yeah, it's easy. Blue, purple, red, yellow. They come in four. Know, it's like 4 flavors.
Oh shit! There's an orange one.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, do you remember All Sport?
I do remember All Sport. That's one I haven't thought about in ages.
God, I remember. Like when that came out, it was like, "Oh, we gotta get this instead of Gatorade. It's the new one that's out." And it was trash. That's why you don't hear about it anymore.
Oh well, I'm sure it's gone now, right?
It's gotta
be. They don't. Yeah, if you come after Gatorade, good luck. Good luck. All right, let's get into some questions. I got a couple in here. I thought I made for you. See, I know you. Well, okay, I thought we'd start off with the Gatorade, but we already answered that. Yeah. So you think grape down here, right? Best Gatorade flavor?
Well, both of the purple kinds.
So wait, is this one the Fierce grape? It looks like the lighter purple.
Yeah, that's Gatorade Frost.
Okay.
They've got all, they've got the Fierce line, they've got the Frost line, they've got
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I forgot the purple Frost one. Fucking awesome. Fierce Grape is probably my go-to. That's like the dark purple one.
Okay. Yeah. So. I do like those. The only ones that I can't stand is Fruit Punch. I don't like Fruit Punch anything. Okay. I don't know why. I've always said that it doesn't feel like it can ever get cold enough. Where it's like no matter how, like it could be in a freezer or in a whatever, and as soon as you drink it, you just like the back of your throat a little bit. It's like, oh, what? I don't. It's like a tang. I don't know. I don't know how to.
For me, I don't like
it.
the watermelon one.
Really?
There was one back in the day called Citrus Cooler.
I remember Citrus Cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, they'll bring it back for a month.
They had a cucumber one that was good. And then they changed they like tweaked it somehow, and now it is garbage. And I died on that. I would talk to people all the time. Well, not all the time, but when it would come up, and I'd be like, the cucumber one's delicious.
Here comes Gatorade Eric.
Yeah. Oh, here comes old cucumber rustler here trying to spread disinformation. No, I swear it was good. It was good, and I kept trying to tell people that it was good. And nobody believed me. And then they were like, try it. And so I tried it, and they've tweaked it. I don't know what you've done, Gatorade, but you set me up for failure. And I hold a little grudge. But that's just... Okay, best TV hospital. So, like, if you were to wake up, like, say you just woke up and you're in a hospital bed that has been on TV, which hospital would you want it to be at?
ER.
That's a good one.
And... Well, maybe House. I don't watch any of these shows.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember about ER is during the intro there was a guy that did like a karate move.
Yes.
So that's what I'm basing that off of.
Yeah, I remember I used to do the exact same thing in the living room when it would come on. I know exactly the shot you're talking about.
I'm like, you know what? I trust that guy.
Same guy that played Goose in Top Gun.
Oh, it was Anthony Edwards?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was him that did that.
Yeah. Straight, like just a squat and a punch. But I would argue that if you're going to wake up, actually, he's right here. He's in the very front of the picture.
Yep.
Right there next to Marianne Margulies. Is that her name?
I don't know.
I remember because she was Greek. She's Greek, and her last name is... like Margulies or something like that when you print, but
Mediterranean.
Yeah. But I would argue if you're going to wake up in ER, you want Anthony Edwards, you want George Clooney.
Yep.
But you wake up and like Noah, what's his name?
You want George Clooney to make everything cool for everybody.
Yeah, he's going to show up.
Nobody's going to panic.
No.
Then you want Anthony Edwards to come in, who's
Follow-up
also
care.
from Revenge of the Nerds. He's smart. This guy knows his shit. Right, he was in the naval.
yeah. He's a pilot. He's got good reflexes. He's gonna take care of you.
And then he's after he takes care of you, does the front punch.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm gonna be all right.
You feel like you're set up for success, even though Goose dies. Right.
Yeah, even though he doesn't make it, but it's not really his fault. Some would argue.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. Anthony Edwards.
Did he really die?
I'm sure he did.
No.
Dude.
Oh, no.
Anthony Edwards.
Well, I really hope not.
We're saying Anthony Edwards. It's not Anthony Edwards.
Now, who's Anthony Edwards?
He's a basketball player.
Shout out Anthony Edwards. We enjoyed you on ER.
Alive and kicking.
Wow. All right. Now I just want to see Anthony Edwards, if you're listening, and you probably are, we need you to go ahead and do the punch, okay? We need you to go ahead and do the karate punch next time you score.
Also, you know what? His name is Anthony Edwards.
Oh.
So there's just a more famous Anthony Edwards now.
Okay, well, bald Anthony... Wait, is the other guy bald? Is the other Anthony bald? How do we... Listen, Top Gun Anthony Edwards. We love you. Continue doing the air punch.
You know what? I think he's alive.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Actor.
Oh, yeah. IMDb.
He's alive.
Doesn't have a death date.
I thought he died.
Oh,
you never hear about him anymore.
Not until you watch this podcast and we do a 10-minute segment on Anthony. Yeah, he's still IMDb says he's still cranking out stuff. He's on a couple TV shows and things. Good for you, Anthony. Mr. Edwards, salute.
He was in the movie Gotcha.
I don't remember that movie.
Oh, it's so 80s. Like where they're like fake assassins. Like it's a game. Like we used to call it Assassins, where we'd like. I wish we would do that with our local comedy scene.
What, kill a couple people off?
No. It's a game called Well,
you were like, whoa!
there's probably a couple of guys on the scene that that would get a little gung ho.
I was about to, I think you and I might take a couple pop shots from some people, but
so how fun would this be, right? We used to play this game in high school called Assassins, and what would happen is you'd have to pay to get in. So let's say it's a $20 entry fee, and whoever you split up the pot amongst like first, second, and third or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever's like sort of the commissioner of the Assassins League that year. So they collect all the money, and then every week they give you an envelope. Like you meet up like at Funny Bone.
Yeah.
And everybody gets an envelope for the week. And that's who they're supposed to assassinate. And they got to shoot them with a Nerf gun.
That sounds like so much fun.
Right? So only you know who you have because it's in an envelope, right?
Okay.
But somebody's out there trying to get you. Right? If you happen to shoot the person who's supposed to assassinate you, that gives you an hour of immunity. That's like base. So then you can get away and go do whatever. Right? So now you can't get shot in that time frame. And then you have to have rules like you can't go to the person's place of work.
Okay.
And you, like in this case, like it used to be you couldn't do it on school grounds because it was at school. But in this case, we would make it you can't do it at an open mic, at a comedy club.
Oh.
But in the parking lot, you could. Like you can't do it while someone's on stage.
Okay, I like that. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that's shit.
Because then that would get ridiculous. Yeah, you would be taking.
But how fun would that be? Everybody carrying a Nerf gun.
I think it would be. Yeah.
And so, by the end of it, so then the next week, oh yeah, and you got a little piece of paper. So if you assassinate your target, you give them a pen and they have to sign your slip. Right.
Oh, I like that so much.
So they're eliminated from the game. So then everybody turns it in, and then the next week, the commissioner hands out to the remaining people new targets, and it switches every week until you get down to and obviously in the last three, like if it gets down to there's only two left, then you know that you two are each other's assassin.
Right.
Right.
So you had to be creative.
Most people would just split it at that point.
So what I instantly popped in my head was that if I was the commissioner for a week, I would write down the same person for everybody and hand out the envelopes just to watch someone leave helium and walk to their car, and all of a sudden 15 comics are chasing them with Nerf guns. Because that to me would make me laugh, just to watch me like, everybody got me? What? Like that. Yeah. And it's cheating a little bit, but I think it would be fun to just watch.
Dude, if like I wanted to do that years ago, but like people just didn't show interest in it.
I would like that.
I think
that's a good idea.
I think the newer regime of comics would be on board. They're more fun with shit like that.
I think so. I'm totally down with that.
I offered to be commissioner for it.
Let's tonight. Are you going to Funny Bone tonight?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk to a couple people. I'm down to do it.
Yeah, that'd be a blast.
That would be so much fun.
The thing is, you just can't get somebody at a show, while they're performing or anything like that.
We would have to. Yeah, we would definitely have to make rules.
And you would definitely not be able to do it inside Funny Bone. You know how pissed Matt would be?
Oh, my gosh. Which would still kind of be a little funny to see. But not in Funny Bone. Because we would all get banned.
And we couldn't do it at Helium because they pat you down before you go in.
Yeah. Can you imagine how shocked the security would be as they're patting people down? And like 9 out of 10 people they pat down has
Nerf
just
gun.
a bright yellow Nerf gun on them, and they're like, sorry, man. Okay, what is the best part of a football team? So the whole thing is like, which part? I mean, you can't be lacking too badly in any one of these areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you at first, when you originally think about it, you're like, oh, well, you have to have a strong passing game or a strong running game. But if your defense and special teams are lacking,
I don't think there's a real answer to this.
it just comes down to personal preference,
I think my
honestly.
favorite
Yeah.
is defense because that's what I played in college.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you know what's weird is like in modern NFL, although this year not as much, but you know how everything's gone to a wide open passing game, right? And that's because it runs up the score and it makes games more exciting,
Right.
and which I hate because I was a corner. It was my job to stop receivers.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? But okay. So the best part, I think my favorite is when I see really good defense because it's fucking hard to do really good defense, right?
Yeah.
This is why you see so few elite defenses, right?
Yeah. But see, like, I would argue Oakland, or not Oakland, the Raiders this year, Las Vegas. They have a good defense. Like, Crosby is a great defensive player.
They've got good parts of their defense.
Right.
They got a great D-line.
And but the rest of the team is a little lacking this year.
Right.
I think they're two and what? 2-11 or something.
Well,
like
something like that. They've got
Yeah.
a shitty quarterback.
Jack Wright's at home right now, like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. Which sucks because I like their quarterback. I really liked Gardner Minshew. Mm-hmm. Just he seems like a dude that kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick is like, that's a dude that's just out there fucking having a ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just loves to play. Has a lot of talent, but not enough to be elite at this level, but enough to get some wins at the professional level.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can say that he sucks, like I just did 5
No,
minutes ago.
you can't.
But like,
By the way, whenever I say, "Oh, this person sucks," that person sucks, it's just me. It's just me poking. I don't know, poking at them. There's no way I can do.
you're Eddie Gordo.
I'm Eddie Gordoing all of it. Yes, that is my flat brain speaking. Is that obviously I can't do any of this stuff, But you know what is this is embarrassing, but I love football. I played it all through high school. I was, on track to play in college, and then I got hurt. And then I went military, whatever. And so I didn't watch football until about 2 years ago. Like, I just wouldn't watch it. Because in my mind, and this is how embarrassing, in my mind, I'm like, I could still do that. I could still play on this level or whatever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until about 2 years ago where I was like, no, you idiot. You're old and fat, and these are elite athletes. You can't do this. And then I was like, man, this is so impressive. I love watching football again. Because I don't know why, but in my head, I was like, man, I can do that. Man, whatever. Yeah. And so, I don't know. And I remember just telling my wife that. She's like, why do you seem to be really into football now? And I was like, well, yeah, I can't do this stuff. She was like, you could never do this, Eric. Like a one-handed catch in the end zone or whatever. She's like,
I think in terms of, if we're saying best, I'm going to go with passing, a good passing game.
Right.
From the perspective of the spectators. Right? Because that's where you get to see all the circus catches.
That is exciting.
Yeah. And that's in terms of what makes football really popular, I think that's the most popular part of it. Kind of like how everything shifted to, in basketball, the 3-point shot.
Yes, which I hate.
And it used to be the most exciting part was when people would dunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you've got really good special teams, there is nothing more electric than
Running back a kickoff,
Yep.
running back a punt, things like that. Or an onside kick that actually works. Beautiful. But so what I consider the best part of a football team is the run game, the ground game, because I love a hard, fast run right up the middle that you're like, okay, it's going to get 3-4 yards and ends up breaking out into the open.
Yep.
Because there's nothing better than when you're like, okay, run it up the middle. Oh, like that. You get so excited when they start to break.
and
I
it
think
finds a seam.
I think it was like two weeks ago. I was watching college football, and I cannot for the life of me remember what game it was. But this running back, he popped around the outside, and he immediately ran into the defensive end and a linebacker, but was able to shove both of them off, then broke another tackle, then went for 60 yards before someone caught up with him. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I love that. I love the just power, you just keep your legs churning or whatever. You push a defensive player off, break a couple tackles and then you're just off because you can hear the crowd just like roar. I don't know. So I would say that's up there with passing. That's probably a toss up right there.
Yeah. I mean, it is exciting, but
then you could argue that a big hit, a linebacker charging up the middle and sacking the quarterback gets the crowd just as hype as any of those things, or an interception or whatever. So it's like, that's why I don't know. That's why I like questions like this. 'Cause it's like, okay, you could dissect any of it. 'Cause
there's 3 phases to the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're weak in any of those 3, then you're probably not going to win a championship.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been a Chiefs fan for so long. I remember we had one year, it was one of the years we were 13-3, and our kicker was Lynn Elliott. And he lost us multiple games that year because he couldn't kick a field goal. And it was just so frustrating.
Yeah, I remember the Super Bowl when Rams versus Patriots. Adam Vinatieri nailed a field goal from 60 yards out or something like that. And I just for the whole off season, I was like, what? What? We lost by and we just hated him. And I mean, he's probably one of the greatest field goal kickers in NFL history.
Probably.
He went on he left the Patriots, he went to the Colts. He was a fantastic kicker, but there was always a part of me that was just like, you son of a bitch. A little bit, I don't know. So it's you can't be lacking in really anything, like you said. Best football movie.
Ooh.
Do you have a football movie? It doesn't have to be one of these examples. I just put them up there to kind of maybe spark.
Then Waterboy.
Okay.
But
that's a great, Waterboy is fantastic.
All of those are great. My mom has a guilt. Anytime Replacements is on TV, my mom is like, we'll stop and watch that movie, which I think that's a remake.
Is it?
I don't know.
Well,
I know that it's loosely based on the actual events when the NFL went on strike.
Yeah. Well, I love that movie. I love that movie. Top tier because it's funny. It's got good funny parts to it, but the football is good,
Yeah.
And some I don't know.
Any given Sunday of all the football movies I had watched, some of the scenes in it. Now, granted, there's stuff that's very Hollywood and cinematic and all that. Yeah. But there were certain parts of it that I'm like, that's exactly what it feels like on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get hit and it feels like everything is in slow-mo before you land on the ground. And like sound goes out. Right? You just, it's not silence you hear. Like what they do is like that really high pitch tone. Yeah.
Kind of that, yeah.
That is exactly what it feels like.
I believe they call that CTE.
I had a couple concussions.
Yeah, I think you can't play football for any length of time really before you get rung a couple times where you're like, that kind of didn't feel right. Any Given Sunday might be my favorite just because, well, first of all, that locker room scene with Al Pacino, probably the greatest, one of the best monologues. You fight for that inch. But I really liked how they showed like the owner's side of things too, and how like Cameron Diaz is like trying to fight for the team and make it better, but then there's other people that are like, nah, we could save $1 million by not, whatever. And she's like, come on. I liked that aspect a lot.
Did you ever see the movie Draft Day?
With Kevin Costner?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I just had this conversation over a Funny Bone like last weekend. Or maybe the weekend before, but like for whatever reason, Kevin Costner makes great sports movies.
Yeah. That's kind of his, I think, sports and cowboys. Yeah. That's where, gets Kevin, stay away from Waterworld, stay away from Robin Hood. Yeah. The first time I saw that movie and I was like, a British accent, I was like, no.
Thank God we got Alan Rickman in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. We stay away from any of those sports and cowboys. Just do that, Kevin. Yep. Just do that. Oh man. We'll skip that. We kind of already talked about that. We'll skip past this one. Okay. Of all the, if you think about a medieval torture device or method, which one do you think you have the best chance of surviving?
Oh.
Which one do you think you could tolerate the best, I guess?
Okay, so that one on the right, that's an Iron Maiden? Or that's the left?
The left is the Iron Maiden. I've been calling it the pokey, like from Matilda. Yeah. It was just the closet with the knives in it. This chair, I don't know what it is. I just found it. And until I saw, like, I didn't see these wrist straps on it the first time I looked at it. I just saw it, and I was like, maybe if you could distribute your weight even enough, it might be like a bed of needles where, like, it doesn't actually poke you. You just kind of sit on top of it. But then I realized, like, okay, it's a chair, so all of your weight is going to be in your butt and low back. And so you're just going to, like, you're obviously going to get stabbed.
Now, the Iron Maiden, it's not actually stabbing into you.
I don't believe so.
You just have to stand there the whole time.
You stab yourself, I think, because you get tired and you start to, like, lean side to side.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's really no good answer on this one.
Yeah.
Chris Sears said that the rack he would love because he's like, he feels like
that's the one where they stretch you out.
Yeah, the one where they just like pull you. He's like, for a couple minutes, it might feel pretty good to just like relieve some
decompression of the lumbar spine.
Yeah, and then once it got past a certain point, you'd be like, oh, okay, no, this is too much.
Yeah,
but I'm sure there's a couple turns of the wheel where you're like, oh yeah, okay, there we go. Have you heard of the brass bowl?
No.
So what they would do is
they heat it up?
It's a giant hollow brass bowl, and they lock you inside, and then they light a fire underneath it, and you would roast alive. But they designed the nose to be hollow, so like all the smoke and your screams would come out through the nose. And it was horrific. The guy who invented it was then killed by it, like 7 years later or something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah. Terrible. I did see, so I heard one time about it was like a giant wooden wheel that they made into like a stair stepper, and they would just put you and like 3 people on, and you would just climb the stairs until you either died or fell off or whatever, and then I guess the last person alive they would let go. And I think there's part of me that could do that. Because I remember being able to just go internal and you just shut off and you just step. Because I used to do that while hiking.
Military.
Yeah.
Eric
Where you just
current Eric.
Hey, okay. All right.
I mean, you might have to go up against like Lance Armstrong.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. If I had to go against DK Metcalf, I'm probably not going to make it, But if I have to go against one of the other comics here in St. Louis, I think I have a shot, unless it's Alex Hayes.
You got a fighter's chance.
Because he would be like, have you seen that? He moves so quick. I'm like, okay. I don't know if you know the story behind this one right here. This giant, it's like there's a fire underneath, and it's kind of like just a wheel. It's a human rotisserie kind of thing.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But, so in...
It's wild how creative people come up with shit.
It's insane. The more you looked into stuff, there was so many pictures where I was like, oh gosh, oh no, I'm not including that. No, they're just gruesome. But I like this story right here because this is actually a picture of Saint Lawrence.
Yeah.
In Catholic lore, Saint Lawrence is the patron saint of comedians. Because they were cranking him on this wheel, over the fire. And the last thing he said before he died was, flip me over, this side's done. And I was like, that's pretty good. I mean...
That's pretty good.
To be roasting alive and be like your last thing, be like just a little... I was like, I like that. So I included it in. Okay, best on-screen death. Was there an on-screen death that just just gets you?
I made my wife watch Neverending Story just for the Artax.
You have to try, you stupid horse. Like, oh. As a kid, you were like, what? The horse? What?
God, that movie was so dark.
It's the dark, yeah.
Okay. On screen. Are these my only three choices?
No. The only reason I put pictures up on the screen, I should have done a better job explaining this. The only reason I put these up is because sometimes that sparks.
I got you.
Best
on-screen death. Samuel L. Jackson, Deep Blue Sea.
I like that because this doesn't have to say best sad on-screen death.
Right.
No. Just any way you want to interpret it, and that's a fantastic one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you've already said he dies. It's not a spoiler anymore, and it's also a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah.
But the whole gist between Deep Blue Sea is there's a giant, bioengineered shark.
Yep.
I meant 30-foot great white shark.
Well, there's multiple of them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And they're super intelligent or whatever.
Because there's some sort of scientist that's trying to create more intelligent sharks because they want to study them. Yeah. But they want to take something like their hormones or something, or some of their fluids from their brain to use as medicine in human beings. It's something like that.
Yeah. But he dies he is in the middle of a monologue rallying the troops of we're going to get to the surface and we're going to be just, like that. And then just out of nowhere. And he's inside. The shark jumps up through one of those dive pools.
Yep.
Snatches him and then just goes right back. And that's it. Yep. And you're like, oh, that's Samuel L. Jackson. He'll come back. Nope. He's gone. Yeah. And also, I mean, not to ruin the whole movie, but LL Cool J blows up a shark with an oven. Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
And, if we were calling this a horror film, which it's horror-ish. It's like sci-fi horror.
Horror adjacent.
Action,
yeah.
Right? Because now everything kind of blends genres.
Right.
But if we were calling it a horror movie, one of the one of the first black guys in a long time to survive the movie.
That's true. Yeah. And he wasn't the first one. A black guy was not the first one to die either.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that, and there was a big deal that broke the two. Yeah. That broke the two like stereotypes of horror movies.
Which is, because like Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was so long ago, so the fact that it became a trope even after that is kind of funny.
Like, I feel like, because obviously we know about how, racist a lot of things are. I feel like because of that movie, because the black guy survived to the end, there had to have been some producers that were like, oh, well, we'll see about that. And so for the next 15 years, the next 15 years, they were like, nope. They just went down the line.
I feel like Wes Craven for like Scream 2 was just like, we didn't kill any black people in the first one. It's like the very first scene.
That's funny, yeah.
At a movie theater?
I like to think that maybe maybe there wasn't malicious intent behind it, or maybe there was. I don't know.
No, a lot of the stuff with him, especially in those movies, was about the satire. He was satirizing the horror genre in general, right?
Yeah.
Like the first one is about all the tropes. Like he's making fun of all of that.
Yeah.
Like making in a very meta way.
I really enjoyed the first Scream, but I don't know if I've ever seen any. I know what scene you're talking about, though, because they're in the movie theater, right, when they die.
Yep.
And so I must have seen that.
Like the boyfriend goes to the bathroom, and then like somebody's like making noise in the stall, and he puts his ear against it, and then they drive a knife through his ear.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, best way to tell if somebody is a bad person.
Ooh.
So for examples on the screen, I have drinking while pregnant, abandoning your shopping cart in the parking lot, littering. When I Googled photos, I was like, bad people, and clicked Google Images. It showed a picture of a kid in a school with a gun. And I was like, all right, well,
okay, that's bad. Yeah.
I was like, okay, wait, yeah, that's a little overkill. Obviously, that wins. But I think little micro interactions during the day, the way you operate in society.
Not tipping.
Not tipping is huge. Not tipping is, you're pretty horrific. There's got to be something.
Well, like the thing about it is, and I know that there's some people that are like, why should I do that? I was like, why should you go out like and be serviced?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
Like it would be. I would have a different opinion on tipping if we were like Europe, right? And servers can make a living just off of their wages.
Right.
But like for some of them, it's a career. Yeah. But we live in a society like where economically they found ways to screw over the working class.
Uh-huh.
And they find as many ways as possible to do that. And if we just paid servers, then I'd be like, yeah, I don't need to tip. I'd rather know exactly what my cost is. You know what I mean?
And exactly. I agree with that. When I pick up food, like when you like call an order and get it to go, do you leave a tip when you do that? I've started to.
Okay, so
just a little bit. Yeah.
Carry out, I'll do like 10%. If it's like sit down and they're serving me, I'll do 20 to 25.
Yeah. So that's when I go out and I sit down, I do, probably about 25 depending on where it is. But if I'm just picking up food or like,
I'll do like 10%.
You take through the to-go window, like not McDonald's or whatever, but there's a Mexican place in my hometown where like they, you call ahead, you pull up to the window, they hand it to you. But I'll sign and I'll give them $4 or whatever, because it's like it's not a big percentage of the total bill, but it's like the only person not making money in that interaction are the servers that night.
Yeah.
But they still, my logic is I'm hoping that they all pull the tips, because that's what a lot of restaurants that I've been at do. Is like everybody pools tips, and then at the end of the night, they kind of distribute. I know some places don't do that, but I don't know. I'm just like, in my mind, it's kind of a way for me to be like, okay, I can contribute to the system, I guess. I don't know. I just can't imagine not tipping. It's like everything's so hard these days for like everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not going to tip, that's pretty selfish. That's pretty bad.
I mean, I guess I have like certain exceptions. Like, let's say it's like a bartender, right? And all they're doing is getting me a beer. I'll tip like $1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's a fucking buck. Like,
well, yeah.
All you had to do was reach in a cooler, take your little wine, like your beer key, and just.
I usually do. So when I go out, and if I'm gonna have any beers or whatever, at the end of the night when I close out, I try to do $1 or $2 per drink.
Yep.
You got me. So like when I close my tab out, I'm like, all right, I had 3 beers, I'll leave $6. You know.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right,
and it also depends on what I'm ordering.
I mean, if there's food involved and stuff like that too, that's different.
Or like,
but if it's just
if
you
it's
just
a mixologist,
you know,
which I'm not going to order that kind of drink anyway.
No.
But
yeah,
let's say it's a particular night where that's what we're doing that night.
Well, let me ask you that: how do you feel about when you pull into a parking lot and you see a spot and you get close, and then you realize that the person is like way over the line, and you can't park?
Yeah, I hate.
Does
that.
it bother you, or are you able to just like, ugh, and then drive on? Because it drives me insane.
I usually don't try to park close anyway.
I don't. Yeah, I don't either. Like, I'm not talking about like close to a door. I'm just talking about like, you're like, oh, finally, there's a parking spot, and then you pull up, and they're just like so far over the line that you're like, I could technically fit in there, but then I don't think anyone would be able to get in their car.
If I'm in a rush, then I'll be irritated.
Yeah, it drives me insane.
If I'm like running behind, and like I need to get, like, let's say I'm going into a comedy club.
Yes.
And there was an accident on the way there, so I'm a little later than normal, where, you know, like, then I'd be irritated. But generally no. I'm just like, look at this fucking. It's like I just like this fucking asshole, and that's about it. That's about how much of my energy I allow that to take away from me. You know what I mean? Because it's not like I'm gonna.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it.
It's not like I'm gonna sit there and wait for the person to come out.
Have you ever been blocked in where you couldn't get in your car because someone was too close to you? All right, how do you feel about that?
Once I get in, then I do open my door as forcefully as I can. Well, okay, so I had parallel parked on the landing, right over by Morgan Street, right? And I was the last spot on the row that you could parallel park, and then somebody, because then there was a turn, and then somebody like tried to block me in that way. They didn't just get too close; they parked pressed up against my bumper. Right? Mm-hmm. And the person behind me was too close, and I was so pissed because I had just gotten this car. It didn't do a hell of a lot of damage to the bumper.
Right, but still, even.
So I had to like do like that Austin Powers back and forth. I finally got out, and then I got out and I kicked off their mirrors. I was so angry.
I'm not pro vandalism on the show, but that seems justified. There has to be. I don't know. I'm so torn between, like, people need to calm down and act right, and then also another side of me is like, no, people need to learn there's consequences. Like,
I was like 24 when I did this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that I've never maybe let a little air out of a tire before when somebody did something egregious. But I watched someone. I was in a bar one time. It was when I first started comedy, and I'm sitting there at the table, windows right next to me. My car is literally like right there. I can see it. I see this car come in, try to parallel park, and they like just backed up into my bumper and started pushing my car, like just trying to like push it out of the way. I had a little tiny Prius compact, so and then eventually they were just like, we can't make it, and then just pulled off. And I was furious.
Yeah.
But then as I was leaving later, I saw that they had parked up the street, and I was like, I recognized it, bumper stickers and everything, and I may have just like a little bit and then taken off. Maybe. I don't know. It can neither confirm nor deny. I'll just hope that this person never hears it.
Yeah, stuff like that irritates me.
Yeah, if you would have hit me. First of all, I didn't care anything about that car. It was a piece of crap. It was a piece of junk. Best thing Jake Beckman's ever done is total it. Best thing he's ever done for me is total that car. So I mean, I didn't like it anyway. So if the person would have just been like, hey, I hit this car, or hey, I hit your car, or whatever, I would have been like, it's not that big a deal, man. Just whatever. But the fact that like you hit it, then continued to try to like push it out of your way, and then just drove off and pretended like it didn't happen. It was like, I don't know. That drove me insane. But we'll do about one more and we'll get out of here.
I've got one that's
okay,
kind of a shitty thing to do at open mic.
Okay, yeah, this is a good one.
Okay, I understand the necessity to sign your buddies up. That's totally like yeah. Like I've had people do that for me. I've done it for other people, right? But there is a way to go about that,
right?
I remember this was at Heavy Anchor.
Okay.
And a bunch of us were there was probably 15 to 20 comics waiting for the sign up list to come out. And everybody got there early, they're sitting there waiting, and then they're like starting to bring the list out, so everybody forms a line. And one dude comes in, jumps in front of everybody, just cuts, which is already shitty.
Yeah,
and then signed up 8 guys, the first 8. And I grabbed I walked up, I grabbed the list, and I threw it in the trash. I was like, let's start over.
Yeah. That's egregious. Yeah, that's pretty
what
bad.
the fuck are you, like, if you're going to sign even if you're going to sign up 8 people, because I get that sometimes a ton of dudes are going to ask you because you're trying to hit multiple open mics. And it's like, well, then at least wait in fucking line.
Yeah, and put them at the end. Like just be like, hey, will you sign me up? Yeah, there's no pressure to be like, will you sign me up first?
And then I get that some of the open mic comics will bitch like, why do I have to wait until the end? It's like you don't run an open mic. Like nobody's here to service you in your pursuit of comedy, right? There's like that level of entitlement. It's like, why should you get special treatment? It's not like you're the one out here, like putting on a mic. Like if you were somebody like that's like at my open mic.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody comes in and I know that they run an open mic, I let them right in wherever. That's just my rule. Because I know it sucks dealing with people thinking you should run your open mic however. It's like, and you get used to telling people like, you know what? I hear you. That's a great idea. I can't wait to see how that works when you start yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not that's egregious. 8 people just in the first 8 spots.
Well,
that's not.
If you're doing, first of all, you should limit it to you're signing up 3 people. Like if we were creating, the unwritten rule, like the unwritten etiquette, right? 3's probably, what would you say? Probably
I would
about
say 3.
About 3.
Because you're going to sign up yourself.
Yep.
So yourself and 3 other people. That's 4.
That's
you don't
4
need
spots on the show.
Yeah.
You should probably spread them out.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep. And give space for other people to sign in.
That's what I always try to do is like, okay, I signed up my name, and then I skipped 2 spaces, signed up somebody, skipped 2 spaces, signed up somebody, skip,
Yeah.
and people are going to be like, oh, why didn't you sign me up? I was like, I did. I just, sorry, that's the way it goes. Other people were in line. And one thing that annoys me, and I will say this, is that if you're signing up on an open mic list and there's 6 people and you take spot 2 through 7, it's like, you're gonna be first anyway. Just sign up in that number 1. I don't know why people always skip over the number 1 spot. Like they don't want to go first. It's like, you're already not gonna go first. The host is gonna go up.
They're holding out hope that someone's going to show up right before and then go, I'll go first.
Okay. Since we're making unofficial rules, if you talk to someone and say, hey, can I go in front? I got to get up at 6 a.m. I understand that. If you got to get up and go to work, okay, I'll let you bump in. But then once your set's over, you better leave. I don't want to see you hang out for an hour and a half afterwards. That drives me insane.
So, the guy on the scene, we're not going to name his name.
Right.
But the guy on the scene that really hates me. Like we've talked, like I told you, like I had to start recording myself during his sets because of the shit he'd make up about me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
So, back when I ran Wildcard as a weekly show, back when it was over at Crow's Nest, I always reordered. People would sign up and they would try to pick orders. I was like, you can do that, but I'm going to change up this order.
Well, first of all, that makes sense. You're the host. You're trying to put together the best show possible, even if it is an open mic, and you realize, hey, there's 3 not so strong guys in a row.
Yep.
I might slide somebody around a little bit because you kind of want to give the audience a break. And comics don't want to be real with themselves, and they don't want to be honest and be like, well, why did you let him jump? It's like, because I wanted to give the audience something they're going to enjoy for a minute. Like, sorry, man.
I didn't usually have much of an issue with people trying to ask me about that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody kind of knows me as somebody that will just say it how it is and not be personal.
Right.
Right? I was like, you know what? I had too many people. Like, I had to, when I did the list this week, I tried to mix these people in, and then these other people walked in. Next week, I'll get you up early. I know that I've had you on late on the list 2 weeks in a row. You remind me, next week I'll try to get you up early, right? And I was always fair that way. But this one dude, he asked me, he's like, hey, I got to get up early. Is it okay if I go up, like, early on the list? I was like, sure. And then he hung around all the way to the end of the night when we're breaking down, and he's just sitting there shooting the shit and hanging out. I was like, hey, it's a good thing we got you out early, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I just straight up called him out in front of everybody. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm glad we were able to get you up early so you could wake up and get to work tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the thing
that pissed him off, the fact that I even called him out on that.
So the first 4 years I did comedy, I would drive up, do the mic, drive home. 2 hours up, 2 hours back. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm just saying that's because I knew that's the gig.
That's like, paying the dues.
And
I remember you never really asked to go up early.
No, I never did because I knew that that's part of it. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, sometimes you're going to be first on the list. Sometimes you're going to be last.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm already going to get home late anyway. So there was part of me that was like, whatever, what's the difference between 11:30 and 12? Yeah. It's just gonna, it is what it is at some point. And I can't stand that because sometimes I hear people, if you have to get up the next morning and you legitimately like just Alex Hayes, for example, works a job, has to be up at like 5:30 to get there by 6, and he does like physical labor all day long. So when he shows up and he's like, "Hey, can I go up early?" Yeah, absolutely. Because he usually does his set and then very promptly afterwards will take off. And I respect that. But when somebody's like, "Hey, I have like a 15-minute drive. Can I go up a little bit early?" I'm like, "Dude, 15 minutes is not worth." You know what I mean?
I
Like,
remember there were people that would come up and because my mic would start at 10:30, and I had to get up early, and I did this for 8 years weekly.
yeah.
Like the only times we didn't have the show was we never did it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and usually the week between Christmas and New Year's we didn't do it that week, but that is a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's taking up out of my night, right, to provide a late night open mic, right? You do a late night open mic.
Yeah.
That everybody else can go do all the other open mics and then come to yours at the end of the night, right? And I remember there was like someone was like, "Hey man, like some of us have to get up really early." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." It's like I totally understand that. Like I would love to be able to leave this early so I could get to my job that starts 2 hours before the time you just gave me.
Have you ever gotten that where someone's like, "Dude, I have to be at work at like 10 a.m." And you're like, "Okay, well, that's not early. All right, I don't know what to tell." Yeah, my sympathy.
I would say it in a more JC way, but yes.
Yeah. I
was like, "Oh, at 10? Oh, man.
What are you going to do with all that extra time?
What are you doing out right now?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, whoa. That's a good one. That is a good rule. I think we should come up with a list of, like, hey, these aren't rules, but they are faux pas. So, like, don't press your luck too much. You know what I mean? Like, once or twice you can get away with it, but don't be rude. You know, but have some common courtesy of.
I think everybody just needs to sometimes keep in mind that, you know, if you show up to an open mic, the people didn't start that open mic just so, like, I'm going to use your name so that we're not using anybody else's. Yeah. But, like, if you show up to my open mic, right, I didn't put this whole thing together for the Eric show.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of for everybody. We try to be as fair as possible with it. There's gonna be, there's times where some people are gonna get some preferential treatment, right? Like if somebody is like on the cusp of being a headliner or something, I'm gonna give them extra time.
Yeah.
If it's somebody that I know is going to entertain the audience and keep the people there, right? Then I'm gonna make sure that they're, because that's the whole point for the audience that's there. That's not a comedian. They want to see some comedy. They don't necessarily just want to see a bunch of dudes bombing, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And I also kind of feel like I think it's cool. I think it's totally fine to, after you've done your set, to go hang out in like the next room or outside of the patio. But if you walk an audience, for every audience member you walk, you should have to sit and watch the next comic.
Okay, yeah, I like that. You walk 3 audience members, you have to sit there.
It's like you haven't been in the room all night, then you walk in, fuck up the show, and then you walk back out. Like, what? Why would we even put you on this?
Yeah, exactly. Little terrorists, man. That's all. There's so many things that if we sat down and talked about it, like really thought about it, that you could come up with that just drive me insane.
These are things I care about a lot less now because I'm just more focused on going out and doing doing work. Like,
and the more
so I don't even, like, a lot of times I'll go to an open mic and not even sign up. I'm just there to hang out.
Yeah, because it's just like sometimes I write more when I'm just around comedy, like just being around people where something happens and I'm like, yeah, I think, oh yeah, I remember, like you
Well,
remembered you played chess in high school, like, and then you might be like, oh, this could be a bit, and you write it down just because you were talking to somebody, and I don't know,
and it's also good to go out, even if you're not signing up for. I've been doing that a lot more lately.
mm-hmm.
Where like, okay, I've already done a couple open mics tonight. Now I'm just gonna go kind of hang for a little bit afterward to see who actually is getting better, right?
Yeah,
Because sometimes, like for my showcases that I'm booking people, that's what I'm basing it off of. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this person's going out to all these open mics, so I know they're putting in the work.
mm-hmm.
That's the first. Like, are they putting in the work? Can they make the audience that comes to my show laugh? Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Those are like the two big things. Like, are they not an asshole? You know, and can they bring their own audience? Those are like the four things. Like, from the standpoint of booking a showcase and giving people extended sets at a not open mic audience, those are like the criteria I look at. Like, are you going to bring your own audience? A lot of times that answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of times that answer is no. So I'm like, fine, that's fair, right? But the audience that is there, you got to be able to make them laugh. You got to be able to make strangers laugh, not just your buddies that come out to all the same open mics.
Yes.
Right? So can you make strangers laugh? Because that's where we make our money.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do. Man, I get really annoyed when people are they're doing a show, but they're only talking to their friends.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, yeah, you're getting laughs, but that's not gonna transfer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't take that bit on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna work anywhere else where people don't know you. Like, you gotta try. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people. There's a lot of people sometimes that I see that I'm like, you quit comedy years ago, but you don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, all right, well, yeah, I don't know. At least you're another body in the room, I guess. At the very end of the day, but. Real quick, you want to plug your social media one more time and your upcoming shows and specials?
Yep. Everything I do social media wise is at JC Sabala. So, or whatever the variance of that is. So JC Sibala. Even Blue Sky now. Like, I'm on that. Like, anytime a new app comes up, like, I'm not real active on TikTok, but I made sure that I secured the handle at JC Sabala, Twitter, Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram. The special, you can look up Vanilla Pino. It's on Spotify. It's also on YouTube. You can find all of this stuff actually at my website, just jcsabala.com. Because it has links to all that stuff. So if people don't want to have to go searching for it, just go to my website and there's all the links there.
And what's the show you're doing with Jack Wright? The
Holly Jolly Comedy Showcase.
Okay.
So it's at the Link Auditorium on the 21st. Yeah, the 21st. It's also got JB Buchanan.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jack Wright is on the show, and I think Angela Smith.
Nice.
It's a pretty fucking killer lineup.
That's an awesome show. That's a great one. I'm excited. I'm doing a show with JB and Scott James this weekend, and I'm excited. I love doing shows with JB because, well, first of all, he's a killer comic. He murders, whatever, but he's also just a fun hang, like before and after the show. And not the last time we did a show together, but the time before, we were doing a show. We were at it was like a pro shop of a golf course.
Yeah.
And the person that booked the show had JB doing 20 minutes before me, and he murdered so hard that when he got done, people stood up to leave. And everybody was like, no, 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 there's still one more comic left. Guys, there's still one more. And I was like, oh, no. They loved him. And he buried me. And I was just like, I went up to him afterwards. I was like, from now on, when we're on shows, you go last, okay?
Yeah.
I'll go first and warm them up, and then you can have them. Because I don't know, they did not enjoy me nearly as much as they enjoyed you.
Oh, I've picked him out to open for me before.
Yeah.
Or to feature if I was like headlining.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want somebody that's going to kill. Like, maybe not to where they're like getting ready to walk out. Right?
Well, that's how he had it, man. He hit a pop and said, "That's my time, I'm JB." And people were cheering, and all of a sudden, women were grabbing their purses and coats and standing up, and everybody was like shuffling and stretching and like getting ready to. And the host ran back.
How long was the show?
It was a little long. I will say it was a little long, but the host had to run. The host ran back out and was like, "Guys, we got one more comic for you tonight," and like that. And I even heard somebody go. Like that, and you're like, oh,
the one you're getting ready to do. I actually did that room, and it was with Scott and JB.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Nice. I'm excited about it. It's is it Quillen? Quulin. Quulin.
It's really close to Poplar Bluff.
Right. I looked it up today. I've been saying Quinlan all week, and then I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, there's only one.
It's almost Arkansas.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be up here. I'm up here Friday night, and then I have to be down there Saturday. So I'm trying to decide like how do I want to split up the drive, but that's neither here nor there.
And if you got any listeners in Kansas City, on the 23rd of December, I'll be doing a set at Record Bar, which is where I film my special.
Nice.
But that is actually a EP release party for a band that the lead singer is a buddy of mine.
Nice.
And so they're doing an EP release show. So Kansas City area, if anybody wants to come out to that.
I do know, I have a couple of comics that listen to this from the Kansas City area. Yep. And so, yeah.
If you got anybody in Tulsa, I'll be at Bricktown opening for Chris Kattan. I'll be featuring that week.
I've heard great things about that club. Was that too pointed?
I don't know anything about Catan.
Yeah,
no, I've never worked with him.
Never worked with him. It's a good point.
I've worked with a lot of like SNL people.
I should point out that I have never met him.
Yeah.
And I think I get really not upset, but I do get a little annoyed when people say, "Oh, I hate this person. Oh, I hate that person." And you're like, "Have you ever met them?" And they're like, "No, I just have heard this and this and this, or their attitude or whatever." It's like, okay, well, until you meet that person, you don't know them. You shouldn't really, maybe you had one weird, awkward experience with them, but other than that, they're a great person. So there's
only one guy I didn't like working with, and he was not famous.
I've got a couple stories. When we wrap up, I got a couple stories I could tell you about some people that forever will be to me. But shout out Bricktown Comedy Club, and you said Tulsa, right?
Yeah, that's the Tulsa one.
I've heard really, really good things about that club, and and then in Kansas City, right? Mm-hmm. All right, guys. The last thing I ask everybody, but when they come in, is what would be the best way to make this better? Any questions, comments, concerns, things that you might...
Best meal you can cook. Surf and turf, baby.
Really?
Yeah. I do really good surf and turf.
Are you so when you do surf and turf, are you doing like steak and lobster or steak and shrimp or crab?
I can do lobster.
Yeah?
So all butter-based lobster tails. And then I do steak in a cast iron because I like it better than on a grill.
Yeah.
And I'll butter baste that, put in all the rosemary and all that stuff. I can cook a lot of things now. That was like one of the things I really wanted to learn how to cook during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I got pretty good at it.
I loved cooking. I used to do, well, I would smoke meats and stuff like that. And I used to do that a lot. And I love it. I still love it. But now this has become my expensive hobby. And that's all fallen to the wayside. But every time I go home and I see my smoker out there on the deck, I'm like, I should get some pork steaks, or I should get some, I don't know.
I wish I had a smoker still.
It was, I know it's cheating, and people that are really into like barbecue and smoking meats and stuff are like, they will hate you. You know what I mean? It's
For
like
having a smoker?
Yeah, oh yeah. For like, it's like if someone owns a Harley and you own a Vespa, they're like, they make fun of, you know what
Harley's
I mean?
a bad example.
All right, okay.
Harley's for Viagra commercials. Like,
Yeah, Vespa's more Cialis, I would say, but no, it's easy because you just turn the dial to set the temp and walk away, you know, and it preheats and keeps it regulated and stuff like that. But I did like the actual art, like the prepping, and especially with like brisket, because there's so much involved with like, you know, days ahead of time.
you get the gloves out and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, well, I do get the gloves out, but they're not like the cool, sleek black gloves that all the barbecuers use now.
Yeah.
They're like super baggy, clear plastic gloves.
Yeah.
They're just like the cheapest ones you can buy. So it doesn't even like look cool. It just looks like I have like weird mittens on or something like that. And but they were, you know, you got them we got them at Costco, or Sam's. So there was like, you could get 10,000 gloves for like $6 or whatever, and it's meant for like a restaurant of 100 employees. You know
exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but I love prepping brisket. I do enjoy cooking. I just don't ever do it. I need to get back into it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe 2025. That's will be my New Year's resolution. But no, do you have any suggestions how to make this better? Something that might be more entertaining, or
do you have control of whether these lights are on or off?
I do not.
They keep going on and off.
I know, and it drives me insane too. It's because, so there's two motion detectors. For those of you that don't know, there's one on this side of the room, which is covered up by one of these backdrop tarp things. I don't know. And then there's one over there, and it will detect us occasionally from over there, but it doesn't ever detect from over here. So the lights will go down and come back on, and go down and come back on, which is why I bought these studio lights, because then it kind of, on camera, you can't really tell. If you were like focusing the exact moment the overhead lights go out, you might be able to see something. But it's the most annoying thing. And I've talked to the front desk, and they're like, well, you can like kind of control it, but after a while it kind of just resets to factory settings of like, I haven't detected anybody in 6 minutes, and they turn off. And so
They're trying to save the environment, dude.
Yeah, and I get it.
So that we could have more picturesque backdrops.
So
like
yeah, they're trying to save the environment that we're in.
So the people tuning in think we're doing this in Yosemite.
Yeah, well, that's so funny is that people will comment and they're like, dude, iron the backgrounds. We can tell that it's a curtain. And I'm like, yeah, did you think we were really outside? Like, it just looks like that, man. This isn't real grass we're on either. It is a rug that looks like grass. Okay, like, I would love to go outside. That's why I set it up like this. I was like, oh, patio furniture will make it look like outside. I love talking outside. I wish I could have a fire pit. Something about hanging out around a fire, having a good conversation is one of my favorite things.
Hard for a podcast.
Yes, very hard, especially when you're in downtown St. Louis, because you have no idea what's going to happen. Car alarms, gunshots, people doing burnouts, a 500-person parade of ATVs at 3 a.m, wind, rain, like you never know what's going on. So I just wanted something that looks like outside. Now it is changing. Spoiler alert to any fans, but this
Fans.
Yeah.
That's why they're fans. It's
Yeah.
because of your background.
Yeah. Because of I know there's some patio enthusiasts that are like,
People just tune out for everything that's being said.
No. Yeah, they're not into Gatorade or medieval torture devices at all. They're like, I am a patio furniture enthusiast. I love wicker. But yeah, this is getting ready. I'm getting ready to trade this out for something else, and it has been a lot harder than I thought. Because, well, whatever. We can talk about that later. It's all dimensions, and the room has to be set up a certain way, and all the outlets are on this side of the room for whatever reason, and none of them are over there, so everything has to come over here. It's fun. All right. Well, okay. I appreciate you coming on, man. Let me know anytime you want to come back. I love to have you. We always have fun conversations.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd love to, because I've got more, because I quit my day job.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this off
Okay.
camera, actually.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. Peace.